Canadians are famous for their use of A, and it turns out this little two-letter word predates our country's very confederation. But where did it come from, and why do we use it? The earliest reference that researchers have found in literature takes us back to an Irish play written in 1773. And then, with the influx of immigration, it was found here in a Thomas Chandler Halliburton book called The Clockmaker, written way back in 1836. That book has A sprinkled throughout the dialogue, indicating we've been using it for as long as Canadian English has been around. Skip forward to the 1970s, and Time magazine published an article all about A as a true Canadianism. But it was in the 80s that A became satire when CBC TV introduced us to a pair of beer-swilling brothers on SCTV.
I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug.
How's it going, eh?
Bob and Doug McKenzie's plaid-wearing, hockey-playing, A-saying persona created a stereotype that has been with us ever since.
Ted, this hydro bill is bigger than Louis Sir's biceps. What, you leave the carburetor on all night, eh?
I moved here from Canada, and they think I'm slow, eh?
Now, this little word is what's called a confirmational, where you're tacking it onto the end of a sentence to confirm whether something is true. This is not an unusual thing in language. Linguists have found equivalents in East Asia, in Africa, and yes, even in the States. But in America, they say huh. And the constructs set up around huh are different compared to where we use A. Humans are hardwired to notice those subtle differences, which are called minimal pairs in linguistics. And that tension, that little disparity that Americans notice but can't quite put their finger on, that really draws an outsider's ear and has them make fun of us a little bit more.
Don't mean to take too much space up down here, eh? That's a good accent, and I do not apologise for it.
And while A is heard elsewhere, such as New Zealand and the little island of Guernsey, one thing that researchers suggest is totally unique to Canada is what's called the narrative A, which is used during storytelling. So I'd say, then I walk into the house, eh? And it's just filled with people, eh? And we're not really expecting a response there, it's just drawing the storyteller's audience in. Now, while young Canadians are largely exchanging A for right, as in, so then I walk into the house, right? And it's just filled with people, right? It's still serving the same purpose. Hey is also being used as an alternative because it's not quite as stigmatized. But research shows A is still heard right across the country, with particularly large dollops of the word thrown into Northern Ontario speech. Now, naysayers of A might say that these are just two little letters tacked on to buy time as you think of your next thought. But A does a lot more, turning a statement into a question. A one-way remark turns into an exchange. So there's a lot of humanity baked into A. Eh?